Hi beautiful, welcome back to my channel. For today's video, I wanted to do a comparison between the three Queens eye and face palettes from Mecca Cosmetica. Now I have all three. Let's start with the first launch, which is the Desert Queen, and this is probably my favorite when it comes to shades, but because it's more bronzy, it's more fun, you have a mixture of shades, and I really love the pop of purple right here and also that pink shade, which is amazing. And you have a few marbled shades. Now this eyeshadow palette specifically, I like to use this as a highlighter. I don't see any blush shades in here, mainly because it's quite light on my skin tone. Like if you're very fair, you could definitely get away with using this as a blush, but for me, because I have a medium to tan skin tone, it doesn't work that great for me. For a bronzer, if you like that shimmery bronzer, this could work as well. Like you can even mix this and that as your bronzer. Again, it's not gonna work on my skin tone because I like my bronzer to be a little bit more on the golden tone side. But overall, this is a nice eyeshadow palette. I don't reach for this as much though because I don't have a lot of shades that I could potentially use multiple ways, except for maybe eyeshadow and highlighter in general. Other than that, it's just been sitting here, I'm not gonna lie. The second launch that they have, I got quite excited about it, and this is called the Sugar Queen Eye and Face Palette. The packaging is pink, very girly, very bubblegummy, and this is what it looks like. It's very playful. I love the shades in here. I love the fact that you could use the shades as a blush. Like you have a lot of options for blush. You have this one if you want that peach vibrant blush, or if you want it to be a little bit subdued, you could even have that and mix it in with maybe this would be a nice blush for deeper skin tone. Unfortunately, on this eyeshadow palette, I don't have a highlighter shade. Now, you could get away with using this, but it's too icy against my skin tone, so that's the only downside. I feel like if I were to take maybe this shade right here and put it in the Desert Queen, it would be a perfect eyeshadow palette and face palette to have, especially if you're traveling. The shades, there's quite a few repeats from the Desert Queen, especially the marbled shades. There's two that are the same on the Desert Queen, but overall I much prefer this in comparison to Desert Queen, mainly because you could really use this for eyes and face. And I love this shade right here. It reminds me of Euphoria, that TV show that everybody went crazy about. But yeah. And last but not the least, we have the Dream Queen Eye and Face Palette. The shades on my eyes are from this Dream Queen palette. This is what it looks like in comparison to the Sugar Queen. This is more subdued, more peachy, and this is probably my most favorite out of the three. One, because you have a lot of options for transition. You could also use the shades as blush as well. Like I prefer this type of blush. It's more on the cooler tone side because I like to balance my warm bronzer with a somewhat cool tone blush. You could also use this shade right here as a bronzer, especially if you're very pale. This one I could get away with using it as more of like the bronzer blush type of shade. And I really like the fact that there's highlighter shade in here. There's also a base shade and then a darker shade that you could pretty much make or create an everyday look. And I honestly could travel with this one particular palette because you have the blush, you have the bronzer, you have the eyeshadow. Again, there's a few repeats from the previous palettes, such as this pink right here, which you've seen. Also this bronzer shade right here that has a little bit of like pink marbling. It's all on the three eyeshadow palettes. So if I were to really pick between the three, I will definitely go with Dream Queen when it comes to functionality because there's a lot of options for you to use as a blush and bronzer, as well as highlight, as well as create a nice everyday or even dramatic looks on this eyeshadow palette. Now, if you're wanting just to collect one of these, like you don't care for the function and like the versatility of the palette, I highly recommend Desert Queen because it has your bronzy shade, it has pops of color, it has like a bunch of great shades that you could use as a topper. Also, it has a good highlight shade, which is this one right here. My least favorite would have to be the Sugar Queen, mainly because it's like very, I don't know, it's like a repeat of everything. Like if both of the eyeshadow palettes were mixed, this is their baby. I do actually like the shade though and the silver. Other than that, I don't really love the actual palette. When it comes to like blendability and stuff, most of the eyeshadows are formulated the same. There's not much really of a difference. All the mattes has got a little bit of like powderiness to it. The marbled shades are pressed quite hard, so if you want it to be really intense, I would highly suggest for you to spritz your brush and then go in with a shade, or use a sticky eye primer. Pressed slash foiled shades such as this one right here, like you can see from the texture that it's quite different. The shadows actually is quite soft to the touch. It is so beautiful and vibrant, so I feel like that's consistent in all three of the shadows. And look at the pigment. It's crazy pigmented, and this eyeshadow palette is not that expensive. It's only 40 bucks, and considering that it's an eye and face palette, you definitely get a lot of use out of it. You just have to be smart on which one to pick. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will catch you on the next one. Bye.